Alright. Trying to... For whatever reason, Adobe Photoshop doesn't want to behave. I've been thinking about this pretty much ever since. Expected that we were going to be getting kits a week ago. The format that I want to do for this is... We're still going to do some analysis, but I want to kind of put some takes out there, right? I kind of... You know, we can have some time, we can develop some bigger opinions, especially because I think today we don't have the full picture yet. A lot of question marks about stats, ability power that we're not going to have answered by the end of today. But we have text. So knowing that, I want to kind of embrace the takey aspect of today. I don't want to almost like rate each ability individually and see like what's doing it, what's not doing it, what sounds sick, what doesn't. So, you know, either way, down the line, I could either point to this and be like, see, I told you so, or I could look at it and be like, wow, that was a bold claim. You know, because, like, look at the last Galactic look. That's right, we had a Kylo that every one of their mothers seemed to think was bad except for me. I was the only one who was fighting that good fight. Let's see. Luke has so much text. This is gonna take like 4 pictures to get this all in. Good lord. The leader behind the unique? How does this even work? I almost want to just copy paste this separately. The unique should be right after the leader. I mean, that's just tradition. Alright, we're basically just building the piece by. I could just, you guys don't have to, you'll just see it coming in piece by piece as I'm putting this all together. I want to have this in Photoshop so we can actually start manipulating it. Reading on the screen is fine and all, but this is leader ability I think is longer than Jedi Knight Revan's. I made this document 5,000 pixels tall, and that actually might not be enough space for Luke. It looks like he only has one real unique. Interesting. Should I even read this? Is this cheating to read this right now? It really is kind of cartoonish when you like put it like this and zoom all the way out. Okay. I don't need to put Palpatines in just yet. Let's dive into bits and pieces. So based on what CG has said, this is going to be a non-combat unit for most of the time until he gets his ultimate and then we're dealing damage. My biggest concerns going into this are... Thematically, the kid is expected to have a self-sacrifice, and whether you're talking offense or defense, that's a bad thing. This is a huge investment character who's supposed to be extremely powerful. If he's costing you offense banners, or if he's basically countering himself on defense, that's a huge issue. Wait, you can't see it. What do you mean? It's literally... Alright, fine, let me pull up. Yeah, it's here. It's on screen. I mean, we're gonna zoom in. I know it's all small right now, but you all see what I see, so there shouldn't be any big issues. He's a tank. This actually makes me really, really happy going in. I was complaining about this for a while, actually. All of the new characters were attackers. I was actually almost kind of hoping for him to be a support, but I'm happy to have popped back. I'm not seeing any dropped frames. Weird. All right, so yeah, we have a GL tank. That's kind of wild to me. That makes me really happy though. Let's see. Let's just jump in. I don't really want to see what CG thinks. I want to see what CG did. All right, so we have a damage dealing basic, which is kind of not really what I'm expecting. This is actually very similar in flavor to Jedi Knight Luke's basic. I'm actually almost kind of disappointed. Not even disappointed, but just... This is a really, like, so... Obviously, if you've done Jedi Knight Luke against Kylo and all that sort of thing, the whole getting max protection back on basic was pretty huge. This is kind of narrow. Obviously, we need to see the bigger picture, but this ability will critically hit if able. That's kind of interesting. So guaranteed crits. Essentially, you don't have to mod around the stat. Inflict buff immunity, can be resisted, so it's going to be beholden to 50% resist RNG. 2-turn buff immunity, not bad though, of course. This, I feel like the level of satisfaction on this is really going to boil down to the damage numbers that we can't see. Like 20% stacking max health is fine, but like think about this practically, right? Jedi Knight Luke is getting a huge amount of protection. This is 2% max health per basic, which, yeah, there's going to be mass assists that help rack this up, but like we're essentially gaining 1 odd primary once we're done. It can't be countered as... I don't know. I'll give this like... My initial gut reaction to this is like 7 out of 10. This is white text on white background. Let's fix this. This text just so massive. Give this a 7 out of 10. As this can be resisted, can also be evaded. The critically hit if able part is really, really nice, but again, we have no idea, just based on reading this text, how much damage it will be capable of. Alright, first Zeta. Okay, tenacity down for 2 turns and daze them for 2 turns. This then is a very, very nice addition. I'm happy to see this clarification right here. Let's see. Increase their cooldowns by 1. It was kind of adjacent to like JKR mark. Raid bosses inflict tenacity down. 3 exposed thing against raid bosses is kind of a nothing burger, right? Because exposed has already got nerfed against raid. Yeah. I don't know if the tenacity down, this is actually, I want to say, is this a first? Or did tenacity down already work on raid boss? I'm trying to think of an example where it would be like first order against Scion P2 is like the last time that I could think of I was in a situation where I'd be doing that. I don't know if that's special or not. I had to come back to that, or like I would have to actually like do some checking because I don't actually know if that means anything. Like if that's unique or not, because I don't know if just using original basic tenacity down actually mattered. Call target other light side ally to assist and grant them advantage. Critical damage up, a lot better. Bad. We're gonna learn Jedi. The lessons has a duration. Oh, so it has a duration, but it also has a 3PO style mechanic, right? Like with translation or confuse, as long as you're maintaining that mechanic, then you can keep resetting that timer. Okay, so that's fine then. Oh yikes. It sounds like lessons can be dispelled though, be prevented. So does buff immunity just screw this team? Like B2 sounds, if I was really hoping that this would be a locked buff, right? Like imagine using Jedi with Hermit Yoda against like a Grievous team, right? Oh, let me get the, sorry, thought. Yeah, that's, I mean, we'll have to see just how often lessons can rack up, right? But like B2 would be an insane block against this team, right? If like it says it can't be copied, but this is usually the block of text where you would be seeing can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. It sounds like all of those are on the table. So if this is his core mechanic that you're building around, especially when we get to see, like, I'm assuming lessons will power his ultimate charge, that's concerning. That's very concerning to me. Right? 20% mastery per stack. That's... If we're talking raid potential, I don't know that that's going to be enough to be able to solo a raid. But again, I guess we really need to see just how often we can fuel up. I mean, 20% mastery per stack. What is this? Is a 4 cooldown? Okay, I think we need to come back to this before I can rate this. We need to see just how many places we... I was expecting that I had a couple of hours until... They were fun. Fun enough. Yeah, this... I mean, Tenacity Down is always excellent. Tenacity Down for 2 turns, even better. Like, days for 2 turns. Sure. It's kind of like, this is going to allow you to punch through no matter what, or like, if we have Watt assist. If Watt happens to give him tech piece. Increase our cooldowns by 1, the Tenacity Down. Normally increase our cooldowns, especially because we don't see can't be resisted anywhere in here. I actually wonder, so Tenacity Down doesn't bypass the 15% check, so I wonder if that means that this ability, like this cooldown increase, might still be beholden to that. There was a weird example of this right a while back where some abilities have it can't be resisted. I think Jedi Knight Revan actually is one of those people, but I don't know if the 50% plays in. I think that the exact rate might be exactly what it is, because Nihilus is always a 50% coin flip. I don't think there's 15% resist off of that. God, I'm expecting to be going live now. Whatever. I don't care about the hair. I care about the kits. Let's look for other instances of lessons first. Special damage to all enemies. Then remove 20% turn meter from all enemies. So we got nest flavor. This is his first turn, and assuming that he has high Mythic Legends tier speed. Ability. Breach is a ship mechanic, right? I'm pulling up the hit so I can control F here. Breach. Isn't Breach a contextual ship mechanic that doesn't mean anything unless it's a ship that actually does anything with Breach? Breach isn't what they like. They don't mean vulnerable when they say Breach, right? Or does Breach actually have anything tied to it? Okay, we need to like. What the hell? All right. Just gonna go check. I'm pretty sure Breach doesn't actually do anything on its own. But is that from Xanadu Blood? Or is that just actually in the text? This is that weird stage of the game where CG was like adding new debuff effects, but wasn't necessarily including that in the text for people doing it. So minus 25% speed, minus 25% defense. Does not stack with speed down, or I guess Jedi aren't typically going to be bringing that in. Alright. Back into Photoshop. Yeah, I checked the kit. This is the only time Breach has been, so I don't think there's any kind of bounty hunter type effects here. Still with the can be resisted though, which is still concerning. Is this the first major release in a while where most of his kit like was resistible? Kinda crazy to me. All Jedi allies gain 50% turn meter and critical hit immunity. Kinda got some Old Ben flavor, kinda got some Rey flavor. This is like a softer Old Ben's mind tricks. Less turn meter gain, I think it's less team benefit. Like, we have this ramping damage mechanic, but I'm assuming the AI is going to open with this move. I would hope. I'll give this one an 8.5 out of 10 since there's a 50%. Sorry, CG. If you wanted the rest of those points, you got to give him a potency mod set. Get the leader up next. I don't know. Maybe they did leader at the bottom for whatever reason, just because they think the unique should be red first. All light side allies have 10% max health and max. Not the best stat line. 30% speed plus 40, or 30% offense and plus 40 speed, not doubled. We have an anti plug and play clause. Actually, I'm gonna start adding in. This document's gonna get so big. Resolution's already getting kind of insane. Also, I think this probably has to be downscaled. The first time each other Jedi falls below 100% health, they dispel all debuffs on themselves and gain crit hit immunity, defense up, and tenacity up for 2 turns. This feels like Rey, but better. This feels like what I was really wanting Rey to be. Right? Kind of talking about the whole idea of Rey back when we came out, or back when she came out and we looked at her kit. My whole criticism of her was just that her kit was too passive. 100% health is a higher, better threshold, and this at least feels more proactive. You know, it's a 2-turn duration, whereas with Rey, you knock someone into damage immunity, and they've got maybe 80% turn meter. They're only immune for 20% turn meter, and then it's just gone, and they just have no defensive mechanism beyond that, right? We said that happened a lot with light side territory battle, actually. Well, then Luke taunts for 2 turns, taunts while he has protection. I really like this mechanic. It's cool to see it here. I'm actually really happy to see this. This clause feels really, really weak, or just kind of unremarkable. I would almost rather just see like 20% max protection, right? Because especially like with this clause, then we really, really need to care about his protection to health ratio, as being like, well, I guess he is a galactic legend. I did see down here. That's a spoilers. I mean, every GL is gonna have this, right? Like, he is percent health immune, so he's probably like, aside from crew, he's one of the first great Watt tank piece candidates where the, you know, getting percent health down is the huge concern, right? Because like Malik can take the tech piece, but he's not gonna, like, he'll get cleansed, or he can get dispelled. He doesn't have protection. He's not gonna get it back. Initially, I'm gonna say this feels pretty sick for a potential Watt style effect, but without needing a tank piece. If anything, almost you could stick Watt in here with a regen tech piece, and you're essentially getting both tech pieces at once. Which, I mean, that's pretty cool. Jedi always gain the granted ability Inherited Teaching. This is... Oh, sorry, I'm in the way. Actually, I should be on the right side. Let me flip me. That might look weird, but whatever. We finally have a tank stat to damage ratio. I don't think we've had too many of those aside from like Vandor special. True damage? Okay, I'm just gonna... And he's gonna get the GL bonus, unless he has really, really nerfed base value. The theoretical on this should effectively be able to hit, like... I want to say we could probably hit a 100k nuke off of this, and it sounds like everyone might have that. This, I'm assuming that based on the cooldown on his first special, you might need to try to do this like every other turn, because it's a 4-turn cooldown with a 3-turn duration, which means via this special alone, we're not going to be able to just, like, kind of the same situation with 3PO, right? You need to have people casting to keep that going, otherwise he's not really going to be able to get it back in time, unless you can get him to triple translate so he can reduce. If that ally is a Jedi, they gain Jedi license for 3 turns and 50% turn meter. Recover protection equal to 5% of Luke's base max protection. I really like this mechanic as well. We saw this a little bit with Grievous and the Separatists, with B1 assisting into the basic hitting target lock because you weren't using his basic on his turn. It was just kind of a nice little incentive, at least with Grievous's team. You know, everything revolved around target lock, and that was just kind of mechanically reinforcing that. This just feels like more of that. Reduce the cooldown of their inherited teachings, but weird. So everyone doesn't share the cooldown. Everyone has their own separate cooldowns, but you're kind of wanting everyone to teach each other in a circle, I guess. Sure, why not? So basically, you want to have a speed turn order that sets up for, like... Actually, what... Oh, cooldown 2? That's not even that bad of a cooldown, then. Like, a Grandmaster Yoda could cycle that constantly for himself. Very, very easy. Okay. This... has some high points, has some low points, but overall I'm feeling like a solid... Now, one thing I actually want to check. Okay, it's his base max protect. That does the damage value. That's a little bit... At least it's not current. That means that taking damage isn't going to hurt their damage output. Wait. Base also circumvents mods, though, right? So a 4 protection primary isn't effectively going to give the team damage. That kind of changes my feelings here, then, though. Because it means that, like, don't get me wrong, protection stacking is still going to be the way to go for that taunt, most likely. But it means that we can't quite optimize it as effectively. We're kind of just at the mercy of, like, okay, let's say his base max protection is 60k. We're doing what? 30k true damage? It's basically like a glorified ARC Trooper turret. No, base includes mods, though, right? Didn't we go over this recently with another character? I think precedent. I'd have to double check on that. Who recently came out that had the base claw? Oh, it was Jedi and Luke. So all that Jedi and Luke was saying... Okay, no, base totally includes mods then. Pretty positive on that. We'll just keep that. Yeah, I feel really good about this. Right now, like, the vibe that I'm getting so far is this is a very brawl-capable team. We can get into extended trades. We have pretty much guaranteed damage value over time with the this true damage here essentially means that we're gonna have chip out value. We've got some pretty good sustained durability, and like I think that who we target with inherited teachings is also going to have some value. I think the biggest question mark right now is how good is it going to be to just funnel these onto Luke, right? Because we have a bit of a protection heal mechanic, so assuming Luke is going to be the tank everyone's hiding behind, which, by the way, the taunt, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's a pseudo-lock taunt, so, like, actually, again, coming back to B2 dispels and places buff immunity, I'm pretty sure this Luke taunt just gets bypassed. I'm just going to add that here. Not to say that B2 is the only dispel plus buff block, you know, of course, like IPD, anything like that can also be that, but just B2 is going to bring that on a more consistent pressure that B2 so far seems like he could be a huge bully for this team. Yeah, I feel good about, like, for protection primary, he should be an insane tank. I guess the other biggest question we need to look at is how effectively he's going to be able to cycle his turns if he's on a tank build. Because, you know, Jedi Knight Luke had some safety mechanics for... They gave you a situation where you would want to build him speedless, but he could also push himself up. And, like, if Luke doesn't have any way to do that himself, then suddenly I'm a little bit uneasy about inherited teachings, because it feels like they're effectively wanting you to just funnel all of your turns back to, which is kind of weird. That feels really weird. What? Like, what is the point of this? It's gonna... Like, yeah, thanks. Good to know. I think that might as well not even be there. I'm glad we have your permission, Capital Games, to... Yeah, cool. This effectively is just doubling down on the lead. Okay, Luke is gonna come with flipped version that I assume is gonna be in his ultimate that everyone else can gain. Can't gain Jedi lessons. This kind of kills raid viability. This is what I was concerned about. So at most, I don't see this team being able to solo Sith raid. The fact that lessons could stack was promising. They said that in the podcast. The fact that I just want to peek down at the ultimate and just make sure. Where's the legacy mentions? Dispels Jedi lessons from all eyes. Okay, this was gonna be my question. Is maybe we could have some time to just build up lessons, and then just lock it in with legacy, and that would be a potential raid team. They straight up just don't want to give you the chance though. So this team has a capped output. All right, that's gonna spoil us. We don't really need to read any of this either. This is just, we know what this is by now. I actually will say that even more so than usual, we essentially have a General Skywalker potential style tank, but with failsafes and safeties that General Skywalker didn't have. General Skywalker has a pretty sick protection ratio. Exposes are still going to help chew through him. Chewbacca Eunuch is still going to help chew through him. On Double Basic and Chewpio now are going to help chew through him. Luke isn't going to mind that. And that to me sounds like a good thing. So this is like a weird soft savior. This part actually feels kind of bad to me, almost. Because if the threshold was like 75%, then we're guaranteed more value. Because this is the first time we fall below 100% health. Like, take a weak chip, for example, right? We might lose like 20% of the total possible value. It just depends on when they start hitting your health. It's not bad. Not amazing. We need to know what Jedi Legacy flips for other characters beyond this. I mean, we at least know what Jedi Legacy is here, but it's essentially just equivalent to what, 5 stack of lesson? Yeah, it's a 5 stack lesson with taunt ignore, which essentially you could just think of that as everyone becomes JKR, like gains JKR unique. Overall, this isn't incredible. Oh, there's also kind of the question of what stat line or like what stat type Luke is gonna have. Like, it depends on, like, the problem with mastery effects is we really don't know. You know, like, I think General Kenobi has a really nice relic stat line, and so or relic mastery stat line. Like, GK's got like protection, armor, health still being there. Actually, is kind of dead on GK, but actually might be pretty sick for him. GK is a strength tank. I don't know if I'm getting a strength tank vibe from this. Supreme Emperor is a way more interesting kit. Alright. Alright, we'll get. This is the one I'm getting, so this is the one I'm most curious about. If it's agility, it'll be also because evasion. I mean, seeing special damage up here at the top kind of signals to me evasion, right? Like, we have. That tends to seem to be CG's logic here. It's going to be agility or tactics. Probably be tactics, I would say. This feels whatever. I'm not a huge crazy fan of this. It kind of, we need to know what the mastery is, but let's see. I'm feeling like a solid 6. Right, like. Yeah, this is mostly just like you start with Jedi. Like, I might change this to 5 out of 10. I'm feeling really kind of cold on. Judge his leg. I like that. This, even though we know what this is, I actually think this is worth a rating because this, more than the other Galactic Legends so far, Luke is really happy to have this passive. Being a protection style tank, this is, I think, straight up 10 out of 10. This is hard to be mad at. This essentially just, the archetype was already concerned about taking % health damage. This just plugs that hole. Like, you're just gonna be able to you're gonna have to be able to brute force through him now. It's excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's a known quantity, right? But like, yeah, I mean, right? We have plus 70% protection here, plus 20% on the lead. He's gonna be very competitive with, you know, tankier General Skywalker, but he can handle situations and matchups where General Skywalker just straight up cannot. Very happy. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting him to be a tank today, but I can't complain. Gains ultimate charge whenever a Jedi ally gains lesson, whenever the duration. Okay, so it's not ticking up as you hold them, it's ticking up when you make them. So again, I'm coming back to beat. Like, anyone who can place like a buff immunity or like IPD target lock or anything, aren't you just completely denying Luke from ulting? This sounds really exploitable. I'm kind of concerned. Yeah, the may gain Jedi lessons. It's like, cool. I'm glad we have your approval. Thank you, CG. Thank you for letting me know. It's safe. I'm just gonna confirm, right? Like lessons can totally be prevented. Luke Skywalker gains Jedi Legacy. I assume that's not gonna count for his ult charge. Yeah, it looks like Jedi lessons might just be a basic green buff. It might be a blue buff. It might just be ticking up, kind of like the mastery icons. And if that's the case, then this is just not a part of the discussion. It's just, can't be interacted with anyway. That would feel a little bit better. That feels safer to me. If that's the case, let's see. I'm just gonna make two separate. If lessons a blue. Alright. Assuming that lessons is a blue buff, let's think about this practically. We have a team that, like, how quickly are we even hitting this? So this has essentially 40% potential in the first turn, and then one team cycle of it being down, you hit 80%. Luke can contribute basically 8%. You're gonna hit the ultimate before this ability comes back up, unless it's a cooldown cycle. Blue buffs are usually permanent, but lessons only last 3 turns. I really like, if this is just a green spellable buff, that seems insane to me, right? Like, how? I really hope it isn't. If it is, then Luke on defense seems. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard to eventually make a workaround. Yeah, 100% mastery. It definitely isn't that influential. I mean, it's more than Rey Rey will typically get in most matchups, unless it's like Rey versus Grievous or Rey against Palpatine without Malak there. Or like Malak on Rey team, I guess. Like, if Palpatine can gain a bunch of turn meter and she can keep her inspired, then yeah, she's way higher than it. But I still just don't think mastery is that exciting of a mechanic outside of Kylo, right? But that's because Kylo's siphon can stack so high that you don't care. Like, you gain the damage stats that he wants. Spell debuffs on all Jedi allies and reset the cooldowns of their special abilities. Cool. That's high impact. All Jedi allies gain critical chance up and critical damage up for 2 turns. Dispellable, again. Oh, all Jedi allies gain Jedi Legacy until the end of battle. 35% off. That's a decent power spike. The fact that the CD up, CC up is dispellable can also kind of ruin it. And also, like, again, if they have buff immunity on them, then there's also big issues of just don't get a bonus at all. What is They Grow Beyond? That was good. They Grow Beyond is special 1, right? Yes. Assuming Lessons is a blue buff, this feels... I don't think this is coming out that quickly. We're going to see this at earliest, like, on everyone's turn 3 or turn 4. Oh, true. Okay, fair enough. So it's basically blank slate, get the damage buffs, get the Jedi Legacy, get the 35% offense. You'll be doing some pretty good damage at that. I still think that this is going to come up fairly late. Like, I think Rey will probably actually have hit her ultimate before he hits, so this kind of feels slow. Also, like, I'm kind of disappointed in the transform itself. This is basically the only way that Luke changes on the transform. Which, by the way, this is almost doing nothing. Because by the time that the ult is probably going to hit, assuming that you're focusing on building up ultimate charge, you're probably already back at these being on like 2 or 1 cooldown. So essentially it's just the cooldowns come back up 1 turn sooner. Like, one ability that would have been up next turn anyway should have just been there, and then the other one is like available if you decide you want to use that instead. I'm getting some real mixed feelings here because I love me some protection tanks, and Luke is an insanely good one of them. But at the same time, I don't know how much I feel like they delivered on some of the other stuff. I think I was going to use another say. I don't think it actually matters that much because the damage will be the same regardless, right? And that's kind of why I'm okay with it. Aside from the fact that, of course, like, it depends on how the AI is, like, where the AI is placing lessons. I would almost say that it matters more that they make the lessons at all instead of just, like, obviously, yes, there are some people you'd rather stack than others. And then, like, yes, there are some people you'd rather feed terminated than others. But for defense, it probably just matters more happening at all. Puro, I was thinking about that at first. The only problem, right, because to me, at first it was like, oh, JKO with Master Luke could be sick, because we assume he's going to have GL speed, GL speed with Luke, or Jedi Knight Luke's lead. Obviously, you're going to get that speed conversion almost immediately. Biggest issue with that for PvP is just that other GL teams aren't going to care. So maybe it could be a super sick setup for, you know, anything else that isn't a GL counter, but you're essentially probably just throwing any GL possible matchup by doing that. Whatever that's worth, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. I think for LSTB, that's going to be easily the choice to go with, probably. But actually, I haven't even thought about this for LSTB. I don't see a whole lot of reasons to use this lead instead of Jedi Luke. I think it's easily still Jedi Luke lead every single time. Okay. Coming back to here. It's such a weird... Like, this is basically just a lead ability, right? Luke phases out JKR as LSTB lead. Maybe. I think for day 4, I would almost rather have a crazy fast GL under a Jedi Knight Luke lead, because then it just, you auto win, right? You don't have to worry about anything. Just beginning to end, you're going to be in control. You auto win. You're set. You're safe. This is like such a hard kit to analyze because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you right now. All of this text could be gone, and it could just be the part where he repeat taunts, and then maybe just the part where you can like flip ally buffs with the ult. You know, it'd be fine. The idea that he's gonna be in like any amount of damage dealing role at all, on like deal special damage to all enemies, deal special damage to them. I assume that these are going to be low impact because his mods are not going to be built to make use of them. Also, okay, just a second. Like, why do we have Luke gains 2% max health stacking until the end of the encounter on a protection tank? Again, like, we have percent health resistance, so it doesn't matter. But, like, A protection tank. Why are we stacking his health? Maybe they're just scared. Maybe they think he's got enough protection as is. And just like maybe want him to be more survivable. But I don't know. Just seems weird. You would think reinforce the play pattern. Yeah, it's just me. Maybe just being armchair designer. Given his role and given his expected modding, now that we know what this is again, I'm gonna knock this down to 6 out of 10. Less offense ratio is, bring this back down to earth. Yeah, I think that's fair. Alright, like, unless this is just like a one-hit wonder, to the point where it would almost be strong enough that you would have to build around it, like, yeah, we're not doing a whole lot here. It's mostly just the buffed immunity for 2 turns, which, like, but I don't see any situation where, realistic, we're going to be on anything other than 4 protection primary here, right? Okay, let's see. Back to the special one. Haven't actually thought it through yet. It's not blowing me away. It's not bad. Again, it's kind of like a weird, different JKR mark. Not really like bypassing taunts or anything. I guess Luke himself will be able to bypass taunts, so having reach like this is cool. It's definitely cool. We got like a weird, this is like a, I would almost basically think of this ability as combine some of the effects of Mark with a JKRSA, right? Because we're going to be able to ignore the taunts. We're bringing one person along with, and it's a target other light side ally too, so in some weird situation, it actually opens up some flex play. Although we already have anti plug and play synergy to some degree. Luke doesn't become a protection tank unless we're on. So that's kind of a shame, but there's still some potential. I didn't even look at Palp yet. We'll get there. I mean, we're pretty much wrapped up here. I want to say this is like 8. Cute little hybrid or Mark play. So I'm just gonna write plug and play as P&P. Even though the plug and play potential is pretty much already wrecked by his lead, but you know. The cooldown being 4 is actually kind of a bummer. Although we have to think about it in terms of his potential speed. Like, even if he's on tank mods with very little speed added, he could very easily still be like 50. So maybe not even that low on 4-turn cooldown, even though it's the highest cooldowns we've had on a GL so far. I'll knock it down a little bit. Unless I'm missing something here, I don't remember off the top on if tenacity down is hard to get on raid bosses or if it even could be before. I'm trying to think of a, like, zombie, I guess, would have been an area. So final rating for the kit. Overall, this is a kind of like playing into my personal hopes. In terms of being a protection tank, I'm super excited. In terms of the green buffs, or the buffs, it's all going to ride on if it can be dispelled or not. If they can, I'm actually kind of concerned. I was going to give inherited teachings a separate. I guess it's all kind of baked in here. Technically speaking, too, at least for purposes of Luke being a pillar, you could probably get away with giving him tenacity. If that was the truest concern. I mean, we still have the other concern of, like, can you get lessons? Does the kit insight actually say if it's a blue buff or not? I know that we don't have any footage that actually shows the buff so far. It was only Palpatine that did. They say it's a buff. They say Jedi Legacy is a buff. Luke can provide his allies with the Jedi Lessons buff. Shit. Okay. I mean, maybe we have to boil in the fact that Jedi tend to have a lot of cleanses. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on this. Like, you could do stuff like have Barris come in, because I don't think Inherited Teachings cleanses like Revan's lead ability doesn't. If it did, that would be something. It doesn't, though. Flare Boot. In the kit insights, they specifically call it a buff, which is why I think they call it a buff, and they also say it can't be prevented or dispelled. Or, yeah, that sounds like a green unlocked buff. I don't know. I mean, I almost want to give this separate ratings. I'm trying to reflect the good with the bad right now. To me, this feels like an easy, like, worst case scenario. Maybe the Jedi team isn't going to play out. Maybe the whole, like, power fantasy of building up lessons, hitting the legacy, getting his ultimate. Even if none of that happens, this character is going to be ridiculous to pair with Watt. That is easily a good fallback, or like a reliable fallback strategy here. Let's bring this down. Let's make this calm down a little bit here. In terms of an actual Jedi lead, if these buffs are as preventable as it sounds right now, which being moderately fluent in CG, I'm gonna say legally, CG kit keys? There's some word that would sound really witty there. Sound like I'm fluent in CG speak. CG speak is fine. CG speak gets the job done. I'm not seeing a whole lot of reliability in terms of gaining ultimate charge. Kitlish. So the okay, I need to come back here for a second actually before we go to Palpatine. It would be kind of funny if they actually programmed B2 as a priority target for this, and just immediately Luke is gonna drop this on them. They actually, like, Watt could just, or like any kind of cleanse could undo that, right? Because these aren't locked debuffs either. It's just, this is like Luke's only backup plan, basically. Because like if Luke opens with this turn, this is just a B2 activation immediately. Like, by the way, I didn't call this up, but I guess this is 25% base since Luke should be starting with Legacy. And like even this is unlocked. So like, yeah, all Jedi allies gain 50% turn meter. This AoE is gonna proc B2 more angrily than any Jedi's get because now we have TM overflow. So this community doesn't even exist. It's not an AoE days. It's AoE ability to block breach, which can work, but and I guess if you hit the 2-turn ability block, that effectively gives you 3 character turns where B2 can't participate, assuming that he has it up and available. And like none of this is to say that Luke is a weak team, but the fact that we're this early on and we're seeing this many ways to poke holes in this team's strategy has me very, very right. At least approaching this in terms of being a defensive team, right? Offense, you should be able to beat anything. I don't really see any way that that would be an issue, but no one really wants to farm GL just to get a new offensive counter, right? If I wanted that, I would just have geared Pyatt. And in terms of defensive prospects, it doesn't sound great. I don't think Luke is going to have very much time before he's been solved to a degree on defense. Again, kind of depends on possible AI prioritization, because CG... On the podcast, we know they test their stuff. We know that they have certain solutions in mind. I know that we... God. I know we actually talked about B2 on Kylo way back when his kit got revealed. I don't even know if that ever actually got tested for, like, Ultimate Generation. It should be kind of funny here. I wouldn't be surprised if Kylo with B2 could actually just roll this. Scion is immune to tenacity down? Okay, I knew that there was something... Like... I don't remember seeing tenacity down on raid bosses that much. Like, can Nihilus? No, he totally can't, right? Because BB-8 used to be the assist call, I'm pretty sure. All of the heroic Sith raid bosses are immune to tenacity. Okay, I knew I wasn't crazy. I didn't have that info off the top of my head. No, I don't even have to touch anything. Yeah. Yeah. That's disappointing. I've got Kylo, so kind of whatever, right? Like, in terms of all raid content, I'm set anyway. It's still disappointing, though. I'm dropping this. Because now that I'm thinking about this in terms of buy-in cost of like how much work it actually took to get here, what is even happening? And like, there's still some really bright spots. Like, I'll agree with them. You know, the true damage is nice enough. Like, but just the whole premise. Like, you should be entirely unlocked from getting your ultimate. Which, to be fair, we have seen this happen before with Kylo. If you've brought a lot of foresight against Kylo, if you've ability blocked Kylo, Kylo has dealt with some of these frustrations as well, in terms of 2 out of 3 of Kylo's damage abilities can be evaded. So it was possible to effectively stop Kylo from ulting as well. It was also just harder to do that. His team could help him generate ultimate charge as well. Like, if Inherited Teachings cleanse the target, then I feel like my rating would be a lot higher. But I mean, maybe that's why they want, like, they're saying to bring JKR. But you're not, like, if you're posting this team on defense, you have no way to guarantee that they're just going to focus down B2 immediately. I don't know. Yeah. I know Jedi has plenty of cleansing potential, you know, Barris possibly. Barris isn't going to do anything for Luke being a protection tank, but, like, you get some decent auto cleanse potential there. B2 not exactly going to crit that often, though. Maybe with relics, because he's a physical damage dealer. If you've got a relic up B2, there might be a degree of critting that gets Barris some guaranteed value. Honestly, kind of putting it into context, it's literally just the lead in being Galactic Legends. It's basically just the lead for me that is doing it for me. And, like, cool, it's a control tool. Cool, kind of like a bootleg nest that gives your team turn meter. Hard to be mad at that. I just have, like, the bigger picture. This kind of sours because of my concerns. Don't get me wrong. 50% turn meter with what I assume Luke is going to have great starting speed. Your team's going first pretty much always. That's nice enough. And, like, plus 40 speed is higher than Rey or Kylo have. So kind of hard to be mad at that here. At the very least, we need to start seeing, like, SWGH.GG numbers to start developing a more informed opinion. Okay. Now we gotta stitch Mr. Palpatine together. More than he's already been. I try to be OCD, but I at least vaguely line. Alright, we're down to 1. Palpatine gains new abilities when you train. Oh my fucking god. Okay. Okay. Frustrating. And, like, I feel like they had to have changed Luke's kit recently. Because, like, the verbiage that they were giving of, like, Luke dishes it out offensively when he transforms. He doesn't, like, nothing on him changes. He starts off with Jedi Legacy. He just gets 2 cooldown reduction. Like, what? I'm not saying that Luke is... I'm not regretting having Luke. But it sounds like Palpatine might be the more fun character to have. Would it be? What if I just go night mode with this here? Oh, we need it again. God, is it gonna be possible to change all of these colors at once, though? I feel like this might be a little bit. Look at. Ooh, actually, it's a little bit fancy here. That's close enough. I probably should have thought of that sooner. He's an attacker. I wasn't sure if he would have like a support tag somehow. Support in the sense that like control mages in this game, I guess, tend to get a support tag. Double his own mastery through his ultimate. Does he have stacking mastery? I swear, man, he does. Do I think Luke justifies the investment needed to get him? No, I don't think so. He has stacking mastery. And he's an attacker, so safe to say that he'll have stacking raid damage. Whatever, at least I'm basically gonna start working on Palpatine immediately. Special damage to target enemy if the enemy wasn't deceived, they become deceived. And whatever, if it turns out that Luke happens to be trash, all they have to do is make Lessons of Green buff. So this is an easy fix too, right? Like... And once you make those buffs guaranteed, then suddenly the team gets to do its play pattern. Deals damage, we can't see the damage amount, so... Increase the 3 turns if they're a Jedi. I assume we're going to see a lot of anti-Jedi stuff going on here. Deceived can't be dispelled. Listed. Weird how those words can do something, isn't it? You know what? I'm already gonna give. This is getting 11.5 out of 10 because they're getting the extra % chance to resist that Luke's gonna have to be dealing with. Fuck me, man. Deceived can't target the Emperor. We already knew that. If another Sith enemy is active, that's kind of interesting. So, again, kind of anti-plug and play. When an ability is used, Emperor gains 2% ultimate charge. So ability block could theoretically deny that. Wait, no, but it's not a special ability. It's just literally any ability. So, stun or fear is the only way to stop him from getting ults. But also, this doesn't preclude people attacking out of turn either, so... Mass assist is like, what, 10%, assuming each person attacks only once? There's the mass assist. Dark side allies cover 50% protection, as opposed to repeatable 5% for Luke. 3 turn cooldown, lower than Luke. 10% more damage for each deceived enemy. Didn't they say that there's like a play component where deceive can spread? Piro, I actually don't think that's true. Luke can ignore taunts. I don't think Luke would ignore deceive, though. I don't know. I mean, this is kind of like to give this an actual rating. Like, Deceived is fine enough in that we're kind of giving the character staying power. You know, this is a character with high investment, so you don't want snipeable. Sure. Giving him speed up, assuming he has high GL-esque speed numbers. Mass assist, 10% more damage for each received enemy. Mass assist with the damage steroid is actually pretty insane. There's not a whole... I don't know if he... Does he even have a clause that forces him onto all Sith? I didn't even look at his tags, actually. That's true. I'm assuming he's Sith and on Empire. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. I mean, this isn't Empire era anyway. And they're not going to make a second First Order Galactic Legend. This is what I expect. So he's more plug and play than Luke as well. Can't be marked. Immunity reduction. Endgame bonus turn meter. Alright, I need to just stick with the format. Let's keep going from the top. And special one also sounds great. Mass assist typically comes with damage penalty, so the fact that you get a stacking steroid instead, also quite good. 50% protection regen, also quite good. Jedi enemies defeated with this turn can't be revived, also quite good. And there's very little to complain about here. Like, the only complaints you could leverage is, like, it doesn't auto-win. But in terms of what they're setting out to do with this, the only real question mark is, like, maybe you need to see how much damage output it has. And I'll correct it up here as well. So we would program it. I guess with Galaxy of here, turn flip. And it has to work this way. Okay, so what does linking a character actually pay off? I'm assuming we can link a raid boss, right? It actually does mean that we're not going to get that much stacking mastery on Palpatine over the course of a raid battle, for whatever that's worth. Commonwealth, I actually agree with you, for the most part. Alright, we get a potency. Plus 20 speed is the worst lead so far. 25% mastery is also the worst lead so far for GL. Other Sith allies can have that amount, but not other. Whatever a linked enemy uses 8% ultimate charge. So we have. You do have reliable full charge generation. You kind of can't prevent that. Like, the only way it can be prevented is if you sabotage yourself, right? You would have to stop them from. You would have to stun them or something. 40 speed is so true. Oh, actually, no. Isn't this the best lead then? Sorry, I completely glazed over this. I'm getting a little bit tilty here. This is kind of ridiculous. What is the actual payout for linked? I'm not seeing that yet. I'm assuming it might be on the geek. I'm trying to like find the actual payout for link to actually rate that ability. I mean, even if it doesn't do anything, technically we're still getting old charges, still kind of something, but I assume it's like if the linked ally dies, either linked ally dies or like maybe they share damage. I'm just indeed gonna use it. I mean, lose max protection, lose max instead of take max protection damage is a pretty big point. So he'll literally just erase Luke's ability to taunt. That's fun. That's very fun. I love having a protection tank with no protection. Linked enemies can't critically hit. Damage they deal increased by 25%. Doesn't include Galactic Legends. I still think that makes this competitive ability. Six cooldown is actually pretty sharp, though. I don't know if that really matters, though, to be honest. Even with the long cooldown, I'm reaching towards a 10. There's just too many positive effects there. I think it's fine. Yeah, literally the only thing you can say bad against this is that you don't get to use it more. That's... God damn it. Really? Oh, later. Yeah, that's the only real issue. And even then, I don't think it is an issue. If you're in a situation where, like, you wish you had this available again, we're talking, like, you pretty much already won the game. Same situation here. I guess at least for Sith, this is one of the best. At least in the game. Where actually am I? Remember, Sith allies defeated dispel all debuffs on other Sith and they recover 100% health and protection. Sith allies can't be revived or targeting a Jedi enemy. That's weird. So they just wrote an anti-Scion clause? Yeah, kind of. It's basically Scion. Like, Scion can't tell by hatred loop. What was it about that made them right? Maybe it's just Palpatine with Scion was too OP? I don't know otherwise. Weird. That's really weird. I mean, as far as the leadership goes, this actually isn't that good, I feel like. I mean, so don't get me wrong, one Sith ally dying, remaxing the rest of your team is pretty sick. I feel like stats alone probably price this as an 8.5 out of 10 just because the stat line is pretty sick. 60% potency is enough potency that you don't really look for any characters anymore. Unless we're talking like Bastille Elite or something. Even then, actually. Plug and play friendly. Luke isn't. Has stacking mastery. Doesn't. I would actually say this might be the most accessible stacking mastery so far. I guess we're only really competing against Rayleigh, right? Team one. Of course, Kylo. It's easiest, but Kylo doesn't share. Savage under him. I mean, whatever, right? Like, I'm ready for Luke day one. Working on Palpatine's gonna take forever, so better to have 3 GL now. Muted taunt effects, we saw that. Muted terminator reduction, also saw that, so Luke doesn't even slow him down. Huge enemies can't counterattack. Terminator. Hit. How do you lose the Deceive, though? Remember, deceived ally or enemy uses the ability of the weakest ally without deceived becomes deceived for the max duration Palpatine could inflict on. Oh, they're just including this clause, so 2 or 3 turns. Fair enough. So basically, it shouldn't even take that long. I mean, Palpatine doesn't ignore taunts, so I'm assuming he would have to start by deceiving the tank, and tanks tend to be slow. So you could argue that that is going to come more slowly, but again, on his first turn, he's also going to deceive your wicked person as well. So you can at least mod against that if we're talking about attacking this team, whatever that's worth. You can kind of predict and plan the flow of how this ability is going to corrupt your team, essentially. This is extremely nothing. Again, exposed against raid bosses, it's hilarious. This video is unlisted on YouTube? Oh, shit. Oh, because I actually, thank you for telling me. It's based on, I copied the last replay, and the last replay, or the last stream I took down because encoder issues. That sucks. That actually really sucks. That's frustrating. Kind of a frustrating day overall. I mean, Palpatine seems quite fun. I'm not gonna have Palpatine. Let's see. This actually doesn't seem that great of an ability. As a global ability. Obviously for anti-Jedi, it's insane. I'll say like 7 out of 10 against. Firstly, I actually want to say 9 out of 10 versus Jedi, and 10 out of 10 to Jedi Master Skywalker, because I mean, anti-mark gets you extra security. With the salt flow. I can't be that mad because I still think I'm gonna have a blast with Watt, regardless of what happens. I do question what the heck. See, obviously, character isn't out yet. We haven't played with them yet, but like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they can't counterattack. You could argue it's decent, but it really just depends on how you're taking on, who you're linking. And for whatever it's worth, deceived rebel enemies not being able to gain bonus turn meter is also kind of nice for stopping CLS Chupio attempted TM loop shenanigans. This is same thing. I mean, it's fine. It's not as strong for him as it is for Luke. I'm not gonna bother rating for him just because it's like. The reason why it was so insane for Luke is because Luke is a taunting tank with a protection focus. All the Sith gains ultimate charge. Isn't this? Wasn't this up here? That's just repeating that, right? That's not saying he gains 4%? I really hope it's not. Okay, they're literally just repeating the rest of the kit. That's weird. Remove the seeds from all deceived enemies. What? Are they literally just saying make it infinite? Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. So we're in a situation where kind of like fighting Kylo when Kylo gets to his ultimate, you would have to kill the rest of the team. Or I guess at least in this case, the rest of the Sith. If he was posted with a flexible faction team, you would have to race through all the rest of the Sith to be able to finish him off. Do they not tell us? They don't tell us the cooldown. That's fun. Huh. It's hard to judge because it's hard to know how quickly this is going to come out. Let me recheck the kit to see if they got it back in. They've got the ability animations in here now. I don't. These definitely weren't in here when I was screenshotting. Otherwise, it would be in Discord or in the Photoshop. I mean, it's kind of interesting the fact that like in raids you could try to just stack him up as much as you could. I assume it doesn't say whether you can continue to gain mastery once you've cashed in. It's just whatever you've got at the time. I think you lock in. It's hard to judge this. It's actually really hard to judge this for now because I don't know how quickly the execute is going to come out or not. I guess we could treat each ability as separate. Does it start being available? It actually isn't said. If he starts with that available, that's kind of insane. Can't be evaded either. Yeah, this is also hard to judge because of the not knowing offense ratio. By the way, we actually might never know the offense ratio on these abilities because swgh.gg does not currently get full ultimate information. It's kind of funny, but like the transform button itself isn't actually all that great. I mean, doubling his mastery, whatever he had, is a decent damage bump. It's also worth noting, I'm pretty sure we're not going to take a bonus turn, so you're basically just trading away your turn to try to set up for stronger later turns. And knee jerk, I think Palpatine. Do I even need to say it? Like Palpatine seems like Luke will always have a home. If anything, Watt has a new best friend, but just like Palpatine is resistant to stuns as well. I guess he isn't resistant to ability blocks from Luke. It's like the best you could say. So as long as Luke outspeeds, which by the way, Luke isn't gonna be able to outspeed as easily. Or like if he does, it's gonna rob him from playing his role successfully. You know, if you're taking a speed arrow instead of protection arrow, yeah, is a concern. And what else? Corrupted battle meditation might be interesting here, actually. Yeah, Luke is a tank, actually. Looks to be the best. Definitely thinking Palpatine, no contest. Bastila might actually be kind of interesting here. Well, deceived can't be dispelled or resisted. It can be prevented, though. This suddenly got weird. For whatever I was even about to say, though, right? Bastion Fallen is not going to outspeed Palpatine. There's no way that's happening. So, as cute as that potentially sounds. Plus, by the way, Corrupted Battle Meditation isn't even going to block this unique. So Deceive is still coming out regardless every turn because it's a passive application. It's hard to rate the character himself right now because it's kind of the same situation as Kylo, right? We have a lot of damage being dealt, and we don't know how much is actually being dealt. We need to actually see the swgh.gg stats, and I'm assuming they don't have him, or they won't have him until the update goes live tomorrow. Yes, Luke is a tank. Luke is a... As far as being a protection tank goes, I'm actually quite happy with him. His lead makes him sort of a... Think of like the Arc chip for Galactic Republic. Quite good at it. Is dispellable or preventable with buff immunity and dispel, which is kind of the running theme for his entire kit. He does have this aspect whenever an ally falls below 100%, which this is... I'm pretty sure this is actually the only time in this entire kit where cannot be dispelled or prevented actually shows up, which is insane to me. But as fun as this is, like, literally, where is it at? I'm skimming over it somewhere. Yeah, linked enemies lose 20% max protection, 80% for Jedi at the start of each of their turns. Like, yeah, Luke is a tank, a protection tank that taunts when he has protection. He also loses 80% of his protection extremely quickly. Whatever. Luke's ability to fight this fight is basically going to boil down to Old Ben and Netflix, this ability. Which... Hey, take a real quick look at Darth Revan here. Darth Revan only dispels ability block for Sith Empire, right? I'm really hoping that's the case. I'm really hoping... And by the way, you could actually just toss Traya into this team, and suddenly everything I'm saying just goes out the way. Can't stop Palpatine. But... let me just check over here quick. Yeah, it's only Sith Empire ally. But we're still on Traya, right? Like, Traya still gets you security. Palpatine will never stop. Only just, like, TM control or speed down, essentially. What team do I see? Actually, before I continue. PSF CBM is actually still locked, so Traya couldn't dispel that, but... I mean, let's see. My immediate thought was maybe Grandmaster Yoda would at least have a pretty easy time getting some good usage of inherited teachings. It's a decent amount of kind of just... It's the same thought process as Grandmaster Yoda with strategic advantage for Jedi Revan lead, right? Except for instead of Yoda calling assists, he's machine gunning out tree damage. That seems... That's kind of a gimme. I don't think that's like a bold take or anything here. I was going to say Old Ben. I don't know if I really believe that, though. Because Traya. If it wasn't for Traya, I would be a little bit hotter on that. I don't know if I agree with Jedi Revan. I just feel really, really low on Jedi Revan. I mean... There's a lot of revive prevention in the game lately. Ever since Jolie has come out, actually. So... I don't know if Jolie gives you a lot of what you want here. Gas, I kind of see what they're going for with Gas plus Jedi Knight Luke. Cooldown increase and Luke's AoE stun kind of give you varying degrees of control and also some really solid damage output. I don't know. I mean, like, this is kind of the weird thing, right? Is like, the only real thing that Luke is providing to these Jedi is just mastery. It's just more of those damage stats. So like for Jedi Luke, and I think Gas as well, it's just accuracy, damage, armor pen, which like, yeah, but Luke literally already ignores armor. Is going to ignore armor from most of his turns, so we already don't even benefit from some of the stats Jedi Knight Luke gives us. Stacking accuracy as well is like, I guess, but not really, so we're really only just stacking flat damage, which is really kind of a bummer, right? Like, yeah, Gas is the exact same. Actually, Yoda's the exact same, except he gets crit avoidance instead of armor pen. I don't know, I think GMI makes a lot of sense here. I don't know if I agree with JKR. Honestly, the biggest problem, or the thing that makes me a little bit skittish with this, is like, you're pretty much cannibalizing. Unless you're like, you could treat this as like, oh, this is just like making a super Luke Nukem team. But otherwise, you're breaking up potentially 2, maybe even technically 3 teams, potential teams, if you look at CG's assumed suggestions. This is really going to come down to cleansing. I don't know if that argues in for Barriss, right? Because if we assume that lessons can be stopped, can be dispelled, can be prevented, that also actually kind of helps argue for why I think Grandmaster Yoda should be in there. The Foresight will at least make it harder to get some of that, you know, buff prevention going on. I would say pick one between Gas or Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. You could very easily go either one. I would probably lean maybe towards Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. But at the same time, Gas doing cooldown increases might be one of the unique ways to try to, you know, Traya can't stop that from happening. What's Traya's mastery, actually? Asks him. Oh, I literally can't see. Oh, I can. He doesn't get evasion. Gas gets accuracy, so she's not going to have any % chance to evade him either. Yeah. If you could somehow get Gas to go first turn, then, like, to go faster than Palpatine, he's like the only way. And even then, even on top of that, like, unless you mod Hermit Yoda to be weakest on the team, he's still going to passively do it on someone first turn. I mean, JKR being an AoE cleanse does help in that respect. Barriss doesn't really do anything aside from being a rapid fire cleanse potentially. GK brings the cleanse and some foresight. I don't know. This is kind of difficult, kind of annoying. The only real locks I feel here are both Yodas. Foresight spam will just help try to make it harder for them to control you. Jolie would be nice for some other scenarios, but any counter that brings a Watt weapon tech suddenly will just completely invalidate Jolie being in that slot, so I don't know if he really justifies himself. Right? Or at least the way that you could put it is like, for Jolie not being there, people might be able to attack and try to win with other teams, but by putting Jolie there, you essentially guarantee that whatever is going to attack the team will have the tools to answer Jolie, and that will kind of screw with things. Maybe you could argue Jolie has to be there. I don't know. No, I think it's way too easy to bring Watt these days. Maybe if you're looking for a good defensive strategy, though, then you try to like fork Watt so they can't bring Watt to everything, and that's actually really worth noting. Actually, let me just get SODH on screen here, because that's kind of where I'm looking more right now. Gonna work that well. All right, let's see. There we go. That's good enough for now. Look it up. Done. Right, I mean, like, Barris, the whole reason why I'd be bringing Barris is pretty much just this clause, which I don't think really justifies it in itself. The basic doesn't bring a reliable heal, which is bad. Plus, this team is more concerned with protection in general, which I think cheapens Barris, makes her less interesting to bring. This is a huge ability for the team. This will help Luke taunt more. This will help make it harder for them to debuff us. This and this, or Master Stroke and Battle Meditation will be easily bread and butter for this team. Just try to help Machine Gun more. I guess the one thing that's a shame, talking the difference between Luke's lead here with Inherited Teachings, is you called the other person to assist, but not yourself. So Yoda will love to have people cast it on him. Yoda will not benefit really from casting on other people. Best you could say is just he'll cycle his own cooldown quickly, which I think is still fine. I think that still earns itself. It's like, I think it's a solid lock for 3. It's really just a question of last 2. Luke making crit avoidance or crit immunity at the start kind of cheapens GK. I don't hate this. I don't mind this. Double tank does feel pretty good. I don't know if there's a world where you could argue maybe trying to go triple tank. That seems a little bit too many memes for me. Also, yeah, if we go like double Kenobi, double Yoda with Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, we're talking like have completely cannibalized. We have hit pretty much every Jedi team separately possible. Ahsoka, I'm pretty sure, is not going to assist on him because it's a GR lead. Ahsoka kind of doesn't really matter there. Shock team might be interesting. I think her kid is a little bit unfortunate, being a kind of clone focused area. Like, this will help Luke taunt more, but like we don't really gain any back in tenacity or anything like that. That's not to say that she has to get every part of her kit to be good. You know, there's some decent flexibility here for whoever she hits with this. It's going to be pretty okay. I'm trying to think, did Luke have Retribution? I know Palpatine did. Corrupted Battle Meditation might be pretty alright here. Or, sorry, not Corrupted. Normal Battle Meditation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which I would prefer here. I also think this team gets super expensive really quickly if we're talking like whatever. I'll just use Farm Boy as a stand-in. To me, we're on exclusive. Whatever, I just want to use CLS. I don't have to scroll down for CLS. Close enough. You all can use your imaginations. Like, yes. From there, JKR can still function effectively. From here, we already have to choose between either we would have to run gas clones or shack clones. And then, like, JKR gas or JKR JK is kind of clunky. it's way too easy to just bring Watt weapons that can snipe Grandmaster Yoda with this team. I don't think that feels good. I don't hate this. I don't think I hate this. It's very canonical. I mean, he'll get some pretty decent cycling. The biggest problem with Old Ben is just... And it's kind of true for General Kenobi as well, but like... Once these turns go down, this team isn't doing a whole lot. And we'll get the lead ability, so Old Ben will have something better to do than just whiffing on these basics. But... Ready for tomorrow? I'll be in the event. You can see. We're decently stockpiled. But, and I just, yeah, I don't know. So in terms of Jedi, maybe I just need to think more about machine gun this stuff as soon as possible. I mean, for what it's worth, right? Like Old Ben unique, giving him turn meter gain is actually pretty good for the elite ability. It is going to help bring that up more often. We give him a bit more speed. He was already kind of on a higher speed build lately anyway. You could argue, actually, it's good for Barris as well. Barris gets really, really good turn meter gains passively. Like, yes, this is kind of a dead button, but she'll be firing off the Luke cannon pretty successfully. I actually might back in Barris there. Do you not do question marks? Wow. My apologies, video game. It's too edgy. This house we only use straight lines. We are onto single tank if we go this route. Kinda not sure how I feel on that one. Also, what you could say is Barris getting more turn meter should be more turn meter over to Luke as well. With the Jedi Knight's Resolve unique, should feel pretty alright. Kinda good effects feeding off of each other. Still a bummer that this is such a long cooldown as well, and like this is a long cooldown without the effect of his lead reducing their speed, so this is just a 5-turn cooldown. Oh yeah, you asked for impact on arena meta. It should just be off. Attacker offense still wins for GL versus GL. Like, attacker should always still be favored. I don't like when Rey and Kylo came out, it was like, okay, Rey literally has no way to kill Kylo at all. It just straight up. So that was already pretty easy to kind of recognize. I think Luke will probably still be able to beat Palpatine. I think Palpatine Treyas should. I don't know if it will be, but if people use their brains, Palpatine Treyas should be an extremely elite draft early on. There's only one Palpatine. This is actually way harder to use as stand-in. Does other Palpatine actually make it along the way? I mean, he is still RNG. Why does he have this head tilt? You look at me like that. Weird. I mean, he's not guaranteed good value, and the AI doesn't really use this well. I don't know if he's actually that good for the slot. So we'll use him as a placeholder. I don't think I expect people to be putting him on the team. I don't think there's a crazy amount of synergy there either, right? Like, Shock isn't even coming out until after the Preem Emperor's transformation. I put Bastila in here by default. Is that even fair? I think it's probably fair, right? I guess more interestingly is, I don't know, depending on how good his damage is, I don't even know how good this new Palpatine is with Supreme Emperor. Sith Emperor. I'm just gonna call him Sith Emperor. I mean, Deceived... I would assume Deceived expiring would actually technically count. he's not bringing a ton of actual value. I think Basila, like, Jedi are actually pretty happy to go against Basila. Her first turn and tenacity up. This essentially just becomes she wastes her first turn. I don't know if Malak becomes a shoo-in. I guess the biggest issue this team is going to have is, I assume that... Wait, why did I just check old Palpatine's kit for new Palpatine's details? Good God. Alright, like, so I assume we don't have tanks that truly pre-taunt, but he essentially gives them taunts, because this Unrivaled Destiny, it would be hard to imagine him not using this on his first turn. Like, if anything, this is actually maybe the biggest weakness for Palpatine so far. There isn't a whole lot of team protection aside from just what you bring in the flex slot. But like, Cyan is really, really hard to justify here, I think. What's his mastery? Armor and protection. Not bad. The fact that Hell by Hatred like is ruined. Really insane. I don't know if that actually does successfully Hawking. I don't know if that actually does make an argument to not use Cyan though. Like if he dies, it's kind of whatever, right? I mean, obviously you would rather not die, but I think there might be a decently nice feeling mix up here between Pain as a tank and then an actual tank. I don't know. Honestly, I could even see an argument to just do this, almost. Just go the get down Mr. President route. Because he just needs time, right? That's all this team is really going to be about. I don't know that we really... Like, Malik or Revan could help in that front as well, although... Well... Oh, Jesus. Luke is just going to feed Darth Revan 5-man Insanity every single time, pretty much. He has no rubber band mechanic for getting feared either. That's really unfortunate. I mean, he himself can't be feared, but like, I guess that's an argument to bring Jedi Luke over Gas. Jedi Luke can't be feared either. I don't know how I feel about single tank for Luke. I think you need more than one. Some may be old then. If you bring GK, then Padme's in such a worse spot that I think GK should be rolled out. Just kind of by virtue of that fact. Is there any real consideration down here? Not that I can really think of. Mundi, I don't think is really getting a whole lot here. He's just gonna be intent going somewhere else. Well, wait, oh shit. I don't know if I believe that. The only problem is, unless we start going this direction, Mundi's nuke isn't going to actually benefit that much. So, part of why I'm going this direction is Yoda is still going to get this under this team. There's a decent amount of steroiding going on of his health with Luke's kit. So, am I going for Luke or Palpatine? I was like 90%. Actually, by the time that all of Luke's requirements came out, I was already ready for his events. I had gone for Luke originally, and my Sith and Empire are complete garbage. So I was basically pre-committed to Luke before I even knew. But I'm fine with that. You know, this is the first event that I've had where I've had all gear ready for both the event, and I should have, like, the moment that Luke, all my shards come in, I should just be ready to go down. So I'm salty about the state of Luke. I have a lot of concerns. I think one of the oldest characters in the game is gonna counter most of what he wants to do. I love me some protection tanks though. I think Luke is gonna be insane with Watt regardless. Like, you could very easily, you could actually keep your GAC strategy as is and just ag Luke Watt and just create some insane counter team if you wanted. Again, the cost of GL, especially for the cost of Luke, you know, what is like 45 characters or something. I have concerns. I think it seems ridiculously easy to stop Luke from doing what he wants to do. Yeah, this I have concerns about as well, of just like 25% health when falling below 100%. You're not guaranteed to get, you know, all this back. If it's just like, you know, say you're like 30% health, they hit you for 35% damage. Okay, you got 5 health back. That's the only time you're getting that back. I mean, in a funny way, if Ahsoka could actually get a lot of assists here, like if she worked with just non-Old Republic Jedi instead of all GR Jedi, that actually would be kind of funny. Part of this is really tragic is this feels like it should be unique. This entire clause, like, the fact that this is locked to the lead kind of makes this character hard to use in other slots aside from bringing him with Watt. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah. Going through Luke's kit, I know the stream was accidentally unlisted there. Started off as like okay, I was like pretty cold on this ability, but then like by the end and just seeing like how preventable and dispellable everything is just like, what are we doing? So I don't know. I mean, the highlight is for me is still absolutely the true damage machine gun potential. It's not a shared cooldown. If I can actually find the thing. Seems nice enough. I think, you know, it feeds on Luke's play pattern. He wants to be a huge protection tank. This converts that into some damage value. That's pretty cool. But just everything else behind it. And then the way that Palpatine counters Luke super... Like, Palpatine has written in counters that will just stop Luke from doing what he wants to do. Luke versus Palpatine is like... You bring some ability blocks, I guess, and hope that that's enough. Which, like... I don't know, man. And again, like, you stick Trey in that team. I don't know. I think Luke seems a lot easier to counter than Palpatine right now. When judging these characters, I'm looking for defensive viability mainly. You know, how easy are they to pick apart or to stop them from doing what they want to do? And I don't think necessarily that Palpatine has a ton of failsafes, but at least his game plan can't be dispelled, can't be did. He's gonna get off his value pretty much reliably. And Luke, I'm not concerns. You know what? Just for good measure. We don't have to. Gonna toss in the boy. Here's your arena team. We got double tank. We got B2 to stop Luke from beating you most likely. And then we've got Traya to stop Luke from beating you most likely. I mean, against other teams. I mean, I thought about the existing GL matchups. I don't know that this team, either of these teams, really do much to stop Kylo from... no, Luke will actually have a very favorable Kylo matchup, I think. I don't know that Palpatine will, actually. Like... Deceive does nothing against Kylo, essentially, right? Like, Kylo does not care if he can target you or not. Like, all of that AoE damage pressure that he has, and, like, he'll just murder the rest of your team. Like, oh, they got their full health and protection back? Okay. Siphon. Like, I could see Kylo being a very rough matchup for Palpatine, being offense or defense, actually. Might even be willing to go that route. Again, I think for Palpatine, this is kind of why, like, a lot of these effects are very, very successful, especially against Luke. This is a very favorable matchup for Palpatine. Very big question right now is damage numbers, which we do not see. So, any other kit analysis you see right now, people telling you which kit's better, I think we still can't ultimately say, because Palpatine might not actually have that much damage output, right? We need to be able to go into swgh.gg and see what the damage output is actually going to be like. Because when Rey and Kylo came out, people looked at Rey's 300,000 damage whirlwind and thought, oh my god. And meanwhile, I was trying to like yell at people in my Discord server like, no, you idiot. Kylo's basic is going more than that easily. Like, just keep that in mind. This is kind of why today is more just about the hot takes, the knee-jerk reactions. We can't be fully informed here, but I just tried to lay out my reactions with all this stuff, you know, get some feelings out there. Maybe be wrong later. Maybe go back and look at this later and be like, huh, remember when you thought Luke was bad? I just have major concerns, right? As a protection tank, pretty awesome. He doesn't even really need to be in a Jedi squad for that. Like a Watt Tech piece on him, and he's going to be insanely good at that role, no matter what team you go into. He's like, Luke is probably the best plug-and-play tank in the game. No question. I don't think you could make that argument, right? We have, unless his base stats, like his base health and base protection, are really low, his health doesn't actually matter that much. It's just his protection. If his base protection is kind of pitiful, then I'll retract that statement a bit. But even then, right? Where we go? Yeah. Having this unique and having the tank tag pretty much catapults him into being the best tank in the game. No questions asked. He's a protection tank. He's percent health resistant. He takes reduced damage. Can't be annihilated. Reduces, you know, massive damage to 70k or whatever it is. Like, and can't be stunned. He is essentially the number one tank. He still has issues, actually, like, you know, L3 actually technically has a leg up on him with L3 having the self-cleanse. He does not. The only real way that he has resistance against Dispel, unless you give him a tenacity build, which you could, is in his lead, unfortunately, which isn't great, but we do have cannot be dispelled or prevented for once in this stupid kit. We actually do have some of that flavor, but I don't know. I don't know if I just feel like Luke needs to gain, if it's gonna be more difficult potentially to get lessons on defense, like, I don't think it's gonna be hard at all to stop this team from Luke should not get to ult if he's on defense. Like, you should just be able to draft a team, stops them from gaining it. He's gonna go nowhere. Granted, his ult transformation flip isn't even that good for him. It's more just for the team, but just, scary. I have concerns. I have big concerns. Palpatine sounds really fun. You just kind of get to play, manipulate, do whatever you want to do. Overall, I feel pretty good about him. We do need to see his damage numbers because he is an attacker. He does seem to be more damage oriented. He's like a weird, like, controlling attacker. But I think at the end of the day, he's still just trying to damage people. Pretty much every ability he does, he has, I guess except for Link, does damage. You know, his bonus ability is also about dealing damage or executing. Yeah, I would say initial knee-jerk reaction, winner to Palpatine. And also in the Palpatine versus Luke matchup, Palpatine is like ridiculously stacked here. If they don't bring Traya, I could see Luke having some chances to get some shots in. Again, we don't know speeds, base stats, damage stats, we don't know bulk stats. A lot of question marks. So I guess we'll have those tomorrow. We should. No, we definitely have to, right? I'm assuming swgh.gg should not have them yet. Yeah, they don't. All right. I think that's all there really is to discuss right now. You said most of the stuff there is to say. They both look good, but you prefer Palpatine's kit? I just... If Jedi Lessons does somehow turn out to be a blue buff, then a lot of where I'm sour kind of fades away. If it's a green normal buff, because it definitely doesn't seem to be a lock buff, right? It can be dispelled, it can be prevented. If Jedi Lessons is a green plain old buff, then I'm pretty sour on his defensive potential. If it could be dispelled, I actually wouldn't be surprised if like Grievous could counter him. Like a properly built Grievous, you come in with some nice tech. Would not be surprised to hear that. We'll see. It also kind of depends on who you bring him with. Like, you could try something along the lines of, like, Grandmaster Yoda, Gas, Jedi Knight Luke, and just go, like, try to go, like, full overkill. You got the cooldown increase, you got the stun, you could, like, try to stagger their speeds so that... Because you don't really want to hit them with both at once, right? If you stun them and you increase their cooldowns at once, both are just going to expire at the same time. You just wasted a lot of control tools at once. It's the same for like Old Ben being on the team. But at least Old Ben and Luke have some synergy because the Terminator reduction just extends the stun basically. You can feel okay about that. The cooldown increased a lot, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't think either of these characters look good for the raids either, but if that's a concern for you. Palpatine at least has stacking, like actual stacking, not Luke's up to 100% mastery, which is like, what? God, this is going to be so depressing to put it into context. All right. Do this math. 100% mastery in a raid. General Skywalker, when gaining Jedi's Legacy, is going to do 1,000 more damage. Okay. Big power spike, by the way. Like, yeah, once you flip, then you'll get the extra offense and crit damage, but unless that itself is enough stats to brute force the mastery aspect, which is what allows Kylo to solo with the Siphon, there's no juice in the tank here. Kylo is gaining this, like, 50 times this by the end of his run. It's not even close. Oh well, Kylo is still the raid king. I think that's pretty safe to say. Maybe Palpatine with the right mastery stacking setup has some potential. Still not sure on that. Again, kind of depends on Palpatine's damage output, but we'll see. But like, really just bizarre raid boss clauses on both of these characters. I was worried it was just gonna be Luke, but like Palpatine is hilarious. Like, I guess Luke is gonna be sick at heroic HAAT. Like, yeah, raid bosses inflict tenacity down. People confirmed HSTR is immune, so we could, you know, let's not take up space here, right? Let's just delete that from the kit real quick. Inflict 3 exposes, but it's been about 2 years since exposes in the Sith raid got nerfed. Literally, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker's clause for fighting raid bosses is 10 times better than this. Because Luke just is like 600,000 damage. Is usually what it lines up to with J.K. Rowling. 3 exposes is like 4,000 damage on this move or something. It's really small. Like Barris, a Barris basic is going to do more damage in this fight for you than this button is. It's frustrating. Plus, also, actually, you could argue for the raid fight as well, because Inherited Teachings is minus 90% damage with the move itself. You're actually feeding raid bosses double the turn meter, and like Nihilus or Atreya double the speed. So not even that good of a button in that context. Like, yeah, it's true damage, and yeah, because it should include Luke's modding, it should be pretty decently respectable true damage. You're ending the raid more quickly by using this ability. So, like, strategic advantage, I think, is what, minus 40% damage, and this is minus 90? Let me confirm real quick. Oh, my mistake. There's no penalty. It's direct focus. That's 8% less. Okay, so this is almost just a worse strategic advantage, right? Because, okay, let's pretend... Let's just pull a number completely out of our butt. Let's say Jedi Master Luke Skywalker hits 200,000 protection. That's a pretty good number. We're doing 110,000 true damage. The Jedi attackers are eclipsing that easily with a strategic advantage. You're actually almost lowering your damage output by doing the lead true damage instead. I know you're getting lesson for the character, that's a whole other thing, but like there's still literally the issue of like we're stacking mastery for a dead stat. All right, I don't even know if I showed this here, right? We have accuracy, damage, armor penetration. Armor penetration is a stat. That's cool. What's in Luke's kit right here? Right? Like, mastery was a lot better to feel about for the first round of Galactic Legends because crit damage, crit chance, damage. By the way, a lot more damage too. Look at this, 1170 versus... Who? Oh, it was Yoda. Yeah, versus 540. Less than half. Man, what even happened to Twitch auto moderation anymore? What are you doing here? Peace out, bot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm concerned about Luke. Palpatine seems like a ton of fun. I'll have him hopefully in like 3 months, 4 months. I'm not saying the sky is falling for Luke just yet, but I do have some pretty big concerns, big questions. I guess MVP for the day. Shoutouts or congratulations to B2 Super Battle Droid. I guess actually the funny thing that you could say is if this character is the ideal counter for Luke, you're gonna be dealing with some RNG, boy. You might actually like 50 Luke teams in the territory war. There's gonna be some unlucky odds at some point where B2 just does not wake up. Like, and counter being RNG does, I think, tend to favor the defending team. Right? Even if the odds are like heavily favored towards the attacker, like even if it's like 15% for the attacker to fail, that's still a much more volatile position, I think, a much more interesting position than if you are running a counter like Tank Thrawn, where it's 100% win rate. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of is some interesting brain food at least, even though I do think it's gonna be a little bit rough. And I guess you could also say as well, like, we're kind of used to B2 having stacking potency now. That isn't actually necessarily going to be the case without Grievous lead, so it might force some weird modding choices where, like, B2 gets a bit squishier, makes him a little bit more killable. It's also really funny to me that Palpatine has the mass assist, actually, now that I'm thinking about this. I don't know if they were just really scared to, like, make Luke copy JKR's kit too much, so they, like, try to make it look a little bit different. But, like, oh, my bad. It's we still call 1 to assist. We can't not call. But, like, why is it just seems so weird to me. Like, this is like, this to me fits so much more with the Jedi identity, and like would be insanely strong to have in Luke's kit, but instead we're like on this weird, like the potential of this is so, this is going to be doing like, so let's see, turn 1 Palpatine makes 1 automatically, makes 1 deceived, dismayed, deceived, makes 1 automatically. I'll place it on the weakest light side enemy. Turn 1 should also probably be this. Turn 2, he will, I guess, be on this with 2 or you make a second one passively, so that'll be 20% plus. I would assume you maybe get 3, or maybe if you're lucky 4 from this. So maybe by the first mass assist, I would say you'd probably be on 30%. Maybe if you're lucky, 40% increased damage. That's still pretty insane damage. It kind of depends, of course, on who the supporting cast is. Like Revan would be pretty happy to get a double hit, especially if he got a fear off on the first turn. Then he should be double assisting, I think, mass assist. Yeah, wild. All right, I think I said everything there is to say for now. Tomorrow, people want to be on my Discord. I don't think it's worth restreaming again just for the ult damage. Or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't want to write anything off. I do need to work on the video for mod 60 through 6A. We'll have that up as the update goes live. But yeah, if you're curious, we'll definitely be poking through their stat lines, getting some actual... I'm not editing on it. I'd love to remove a song for the playlist. Yeah. That's where some of the bigger judgments can be made. I mean, today we're looking at the effects. Tomorrow it will be the actual damage output. I still think... Like, at this point, I don't even know if I... Like, the issues with Luke, unless it's just, like, this move and this move just do absurd damage, I'm more interested to just see Palpatine's damage output itself. Right. Alright. I think I've said all there is to say. Sorry again about this being unlisted for most of this stream for people to go back and see. Yeah, thanks for watching.